Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second official Foundry virtual event. My name is Jen Goldfinch, and I'm here today from Montreal, Canada. I'm joined by my colleague Juan Salazar, who is from Colombia but based in London, England, and Hugo Guerra, our guest speaker, who's from Portugal and based in London as well. We're really excited to have everyone here today. We have a really packed webinar. We've got hundreds of people from all over the world. We've seen people pop in from Canada, from the UK, from France, Portugal, Brazil, the US. Hello, India. Hello from Munich, Uruguay. Look at all that. We're getting all the all the hellos from Spain as well, and Sweden. So we're really happy to have this amazing audience of people. We've got a great presentation today from Hugo Guerra. We're going to have an animated live Q&A at the end, so please stick around. You can ask questions in the chat, but we do recommend you ask questions in the question tab because the questions do come pretty fast and furious. So as I mentioned, this is part of our Foundry virtual event series. We're working on 3 different projects for the season. We're doing webinars. Those are deep technical dives into our products. We just did one on Tuesday with Nuke 12.1, so highly recommend you check that out. We also have skill ups that are coming soon. A skill up is how to become into a certain job role, so how to go from a junior to a mid-level comp, how to go from mid to senior. So we're really lucky to have Courtney Price, who's going to be working with us in a couple of weeks, doing a skill up on how to go from a mid-level compositor to a senior compositor. And then we have sessions. So for those of you who've been following Foundry for several years, you might remember we used to host sessions in our London office where we'd invite a customer in, have a conversation on a series of topics. So we rebooted that for this virtual events program, and Hugo is our very first guest on our session. So we're really excited. Take a look at our events page and you'll see all the upcoming webinars we have. We're trying to host 1 to 2 a week, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we have 5 more coming in April. We have a series of customer presentations called Foundry Live coming in May. We also wanted to remind you that if you want to jump in and start learning a product like Nuke or Mari or Moto, Katana, we've reset all of our Foundry trials to 0. So if you've already tried Nuke, you can try it again tomorrow for 30 days. If you have any feedback on the events, please reach out to us. You can email us at virtual.events@foundry.com. And if you have any issues and you need some help, please reach out to our support team as well. All this information you can find on our website, and we're here to help if we can do anything. So if you want to keep up to date with what we have going on our webinar program, as well as our release schedule and our customer stories, we do release a newsletter every couple of months called Insights. If you go to the Insights hub on foundry.com, at the bottom of the page you can subscribe. Great info in there about what's coming up at Foundry. We also have posts everything on our social media channels. We're usually at Foundry Team, whether that's Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, etc. So please do follow us. There's tons of videos on our YouTube channel, lots of great content. I also wanted to take this opportunity to call out some of the amazing industry partnerships that we work with. So we're big sponsors of the Access VFX organization. It's a fantastic group that really works to helping people with mentor programs. Foundry is a sponsor of the mentor program. So take a look and see if there's something you can do either as a mentee or a mentor. We also partner with the Academy Software Foundation. So if you're on the development side and you're interested in the open source tools that the ASWF support, please take a look at their website as well. They're always looking for development help. And then again, we continue to work and support our partners at ACM SIGGRAPH and the Visual Effects Society. These global organizations do amazing work, so highly recommend joining and being part of those as well. And I did want to take a minute just to call out that since this whole webinar is about alternative methods of income, Foundry is hiring, so we are looking for a few roles with engineering and development background, and we also have a couple of roles available with an artist background. So if you are interested, take a look at our Foundry website in the careers section and take a look. With that, I'm going to say thank you from me, and we're going to just open quickly with our Foundry show reel that's highlighting some of the amazing work that our customers from around the world has produced. And after that, you're going to hear from Juan Salazar from Foundry. Thank you so much and enjoy the webinar.
Right. Hello, everyone. I'm Juan Salazar, Senior Creative Product Manager with the Nuke team. Yeah, I wanted to give you a little bit of an update of how the Nuke team is going and what is happening, especially on these kind of strange times that we are running through. So the Nuke team, we are actually working almost at 100% capacity, been working from home. So much that we actually did our first full from home release yesterday. Release 12.1 v2. So we are very happy with that. There's a few caveats, obviously, that we need some equipment to do testing, for example, for monitor out and so on. So we are actually really looking for any of you guys that can do that type of testing in your own setups. Do let us know. It'll be great to get some more testing for some of those features. But we are definitely trying to support the industry at these difficult times. One of the main things, as Jen just said, we resetted all the trials so you can all have Nuke at home. It would be great to have Hugo at home as well. But yeah, no.
That's too expensive. I am very expensive per day. I'm sorry, Juan, I can't do that.
I try at least. So at least you can use Nuke at home with the trials for a few months. We are gonna be also running alphas and betas of the next group of features of Nuke. So that'll be through our normal beta programs. But because people will be able to have licenses at home, you'll be able to do some of this testing at home. And we are really looking forward to get some of that feedback from you guys, especially with a few features that are coming that are very, very, very interesting. Last but not least, since you're at home, and I'm sure all of you have those bugs that you couldn't report while you were in the heck of production, our support team is also running completely from home and doing a great job. Please do report some of those bugs that you have always wanted to report and haven't had the chance to. We'll be able to kind of look at them and work on those as soon as possible. So we cannot fix what we don't know, so it'll be great to hear from you on those areas. And I think with that is mostly all that I have to tell you about the Nuke team at the moment. Again, stay safe, everything else. And I'm going to leave you with Hugo now, and then we'll come back on the Q&A. So here's Hugo.
Hi, my name is Hugo, and this is Hugo's Desk. I would like to start by thanking the lovely people at the Foundry, especially Jan, Juan, and Elise, for inviting me for this webinar. Today I wanted to share some insights of how to earn extra money outside the traditional roles of the creative industry. As you all know, the current pandemic is changing the way we work forever. With most of the visual effects industries working from home and so many productions being delayed, what can really a digital artist do as an alternative method of income? What can we do to stay busy, engage, and survive during this time? Well, it turns out that there's a lot we can try. In this video, I wanted to discuss how to harness the power of Kickstarter, Patreon, YouTube, Twitch, but also to talk about how this is the perfect time to focus on developing your skills or finish your personal projects. This is the time to create. People are home and starving for content. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a director and visual effects supervisor with 20 years of experience. I've worked with many companies, including Nexus, Fire Without Smoke, Sony, and The Mill, where I was the head of Nuke and a visual effects supervisor. Over my career, I had the pleasure of collaborating with many brands and clients. And for the last 5 years, I've been working from my home studio with a team of artists scattered all over the world. But for a lot of you, I'm the guy that runs Hugo's Desk, both on YouTube and on Twitch. But enough about me. In my opinion, hard times can also be introspective times. So I've been thinking a lot about all the colleagues that are at danger of losing their jobs. It does seem like the only way for the industry to survive is to work from home, but I think the problem is that we are actually working on last year's productions. When we entered the lockdown, nothing has been filmed for months. Schedules has been postponed, shoots were cancelled, sets sometimes abandoned. We need to understand that it's not going to be like turning a switch when it's all over. It could take some time until we are at full capacity again. So what can we do if the work stops? What if we can't get back to our offices? Since I've been working from home, I have also been developing a double life as a YouTuber and Twitch streamer. And this is exactly what I wanted to talk today. There was a time that I thought that working in a company was the only way to be part of this creative industry, but it turns out that there's so many other opportunities. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but with this in mind, I wanted to present some potential strategies that could help you navigate during these strange times. Number one, perhaps it's time to make a home studio. If you can't go to the office, why don't you bring the office to you? And it doesn't need to be like my studio. It's true, my office is fully geared up with the latest professional workstations and 10-bit displays. I have better equipment today here than I've ever had at the mill. I even have a Doom mousepad. Just look at it, it's amazing. But of course, you don't need all of this to work from home. This is my studio, it's my company. I've been developing this for the past 5 years. I've been slowly building it part by part. It had many iterations. If you want to work remotely, you need to make a couple of crucial investments. I would suggest to get a good PC or a Mac, something with a lot of cores for multitasking, plenty of memory so you can run multiple softwares at the same time. Remember, you're going to be alone at home. There's no render farms. There's no extra power from other computers. You should get a redundancy server so you can store all your data and also make a backup solution using, for example, LTO tapes. Get a professional monitor that can be hardware calibrated. It's going to be crucial to deliver color accuracy to your clients. Also get a really good chair. Start small and build your studio project by project. I, for example, put aside a percentage from each of my productions so that I can buy new equipment. The bottom line is you need to make a home studio. So find the location in your house and get cozy. If you need any suggestions or even help with your setup, please let me know. I want to encourage people to take this really seriously, so I want to help. I will make a full video tour of my office with a full list of equipment very soon, I promise. And of course, I'm very happy to discuss any equipment on the Q&A later. Number two, make a social presence. Do you think you're talented? Do you think your work is great and it could inspire other people? Time to use social media instead of them using you. Take advantage of Twitter, Discord, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. Make sure you use the same name across all accounts. Make a logo. Do some banners. Build a brand around your work, around your interests, around your projects. Build a following. Believe it or not, my channel was built by social media and word of mouth, to a point that now I'm even getting work because of my YouTube videos and my streams. Sometimes my clients even ask me if I can do a video about their projects. Social media is a fantastic work tool. Number three, crowdfund your projects. Don't have any work? Well, you can try to make your own work. Kickstarter is full of success stories like that. You can make an online course like we did. My team and I created 3 successful campaigns on Kickstarter with over 500% funding. We managed to create a full Nuke course completely custom made for our students. It was only possible because of crowdfunding. There's so much more you can do. For example, if you're a talented illustrator or a CG modeler, you can create a board game. Just get together with some friends, create a plot, some concept arts, and launch the campaign. Do you know a game engine? Get together with some other artists and programmers and make a video game. So many great games were funded on Kickstarter. Do you have an old script gathering dust on your laptop? Go and finish it. You can't probably film it now during the lockdown, but maybe it can be done in CG or as motion graphics or even 2D animation. Again, gather your talented friends and make it happen. Who knows, it might even end up in Netflix one day. In my opinion, Kickstarter is one of the best things that ever happened to the creative industry. It's not supply and demand. It's all about demand and supply. Number 4, now is the time to teach and learn. Do you have experience? Do you think you know some cool technique that no one else knows? Create content. Teach what you know. Learn what you don't. Make a Patreon so you can connect with your audience. Patreon is a great way to support the podcast, a YouTube channel, or even help with your Twitch stream. Why Patreon, you're asking? Well, don't expect YouTube to bring a lot of money unless you're doing cat videos or meme reviews. In the visual effects industry, you'll barely get 10,000 or 50,000 views if you are lucky. I can tell you from experience, I have one of the most successful channels on compositing on YouTube, and even with 27,000 subscribers, I can barely get $100 a month from YouTube. But it doesn't matter. You need to use YouTube as a marketing tool so that you can drive people into your Patreon, into Twitch and Kickstarter. Use YouTube to promote your brand. And I know it's not easy. YouTube does not help small niche channels like ours. But at least if you can get 1,000 followers in your channel, you can then start monetizing your content with, videos, live streams, super chat, and maybe even memberships. And once you get to 10,000 subscribers, I can guarantee you that you'll start being contacted by some brands. I, for example, was invited to be an ambassador for BenQ. I've also made sponsor deals with Action VFX, Foundry, F-Track. Many companies have really left the traditional advertising model, and they prefer to invest in content creators, in influencers. This is great news for us. It's direct marketing to a correct audience. If you have a channel about color grading, for example, I'm sure a monitor brand will want to help you. Your audience is the perfect client for them. Again, demand and supply. You just need to research a little bit. There's so many brands that have either an ambassador or an affiliate program. And then there's Twitch. You can use Twitch to teach or inspire. You can do training sessions, play some games, play some guitars. Becoming an affiliate on Twitch is actually quite simple. To start monetizing your channel, you just need to have at least 7 broadcasts with an average of 3 viewers for a total of 500 minutes per month. Of course, that plus 50 followers. It's actually quite easy if you have good content and something cool to show. For example, on my streams, I play some video games. I do some training in Nuke. I do a lot of portfolio reviews. I give career advice for visual effects. There's so much you can do. And the cool thing is that they pay a lot better than YouTube. Making 1 or 2 streams a week with an average of 75 viewers could bring you $150 a month. I know it's not a lot, but you need to understand that this is the new reality. It's like earning money from microtransactions. 100 from here, 200 from there, 50 from the other place. At the end of the month, it will all add up. It could be the difference of having enough money to pay your rent. And don't forget, Twitch is owned by Amazon. So if anyone has Amazon Prime, they can subscribe to your channel for free. Then they don't pay anything and you get some money from Amazon. I understand that these channels take time and dedication. It took me 4 years to make income on Hugo's Desk. And even today, I still need my regular visual effect job to live, but it helps. And that's the point of this webinar. Anything right now can help. Every dollar counts. And don't forget, I have a niche channel. Nuke is not even used by a lot of people if you think about it. If you teach something more popular, more streamlined, imagine, motion graphics, editing, photography, you can have hundreds of thousands of views. Number 5. And then you have more secondary sources of income. Patreon and Kickstarter is not even the only thing you should be doing right now. Do you have a bunch of photos and textures, HDRs, footage? It's time to sell.
I've got to get Wilson and tell him to sell.
Maybe you have a lot of drone footage. Maybe you have some extra B-roll plates that you've never used on a project. Sell them all.
Get back in there at once and sell.
They're just sitting in your computer. Because of the pandemic, we're all going to have to use a lot of stock footage. And we're probably even going to have to do visual effects on some of these plates. Just look at Alamy or Shutterstock. They are a great place to sell your photos, your footage of any kind. And if you don't have pictures, you can stage them right now at your home. Photograph your kids. Photograph your partners. Take photos of objects. If you have a garden, make some macro photography. And I know it's not very well paid, but you can still probably get a couple of bucks per photo. And if you have a lot of photos uploaded, you can probably get a couple of $100 a month. Again, every dollar counts. Are you always bragging that you can model anything in CG? Well, now is the time to show off. Sell your CG models in TurboSquid, CG Trader, or any other 3D stock website. Start modeling, make a schedule, model 1 object per day, check the latest trends and model that. You will not only earn a few bucks a month, but it's an excellent practice during this time. Imagine how fast you will become after modeling dozens of props. Use Etsy to sell anything handmade. If you know how to draw or paint, you can sell posters, you can sell hats, cups, t-shirts, anything. Number 6, learn and develop. This is also the perfect time to learn. Get an online course, learn new skills, learn from the best, look for the seniors in the industry, and get professional training. Learn from people like Victor Perez, from Steve Wright, maybe even sign up to my online course of compositing with Ricardo Ferreira. Subscribe to Hugo's Desk, support me in Patreon, and you can join my Discord channel. You can even get some scripts from my videos to learn and practice. And this is just compositing. There's so many people right now making amazing content online. Go and support them. Learn new stuff. Do you want to learn Houdini? Go and support Tim. He has a new Houdini course. Just become a Patreon and it's yours to learn. Do you want to know more about behind the scenes of the latest visual effects projects? Support Ian with his publication before and afters. Do you love compositing? Well, go and support Ben's Comp newsletter. Do you want to learn from the head of CG at DNEG? Join Ludo's visual effects coaching on Twitch on YouTube. Not to mention his amazing Discord channel, Keep Calm, I'm in VFX. Do you like modeling? Then go support Andrew on Twitch. He does excellent streams where he shares his experience as a senior hard surface modeler at DNEG. And the list goes on and on. They all have Patreons and they all need your support to stay online, to continue to produce great content. Great content that you need to develop your skills right now. And there's so many more that I'm not even mentioning here. Apologies to everyone that I've left out. You can always contact me. I'm happy to suggest more. I'm happy to share more resources. Anyway, this video is already way too long. Let's just get on with the Q&A. But one last thing. If you have some spare computer power at the evenings, make sure to help the Folding at Home project. They're currently researching and helping the fight against COVID-19. Maybe even consider joining Hugo's Desk's team. Anyway, thank you so much for listening and time for the Q&A.
All right. Right. So that was really cool. Thank you, Hugo. There is a lot of stuff to talk about and go about it. I probably will want to start the questions for you. And I think the first one, and I think is kind of the scary bit for a lot of people, is how to start the channel and what was kind of the finding your own voice. Teaching is not easy. I have done it myself. Some of us are used to teach, but for the people that is just getting their voice out, or how do you recommend getting started on this type of stuff?
Yeah, so thank you so much for the question. I think that's really important, and I was a bit unsure if I was going to talk about that on the video or not, because I was quite limited. I really only wanted to spend 15 minutes on that video. There's a lot to unwrap, but it was very scary. It was in the beginning. You know, I've been teaching for 10 years now, and in the beginning, I wasn't very good. I can tell you that. Like, I was a bit shit, like everyone else is when they start. And, you know, I would fumble my words. I would do all those things. You know, I would like not really remember what I was saying. I had to constantly have notes and this and that. And I still remember like my first presentations with the Foundry at FMX were a bit fumbled compared to the ones I do now, you know. So I kind of like got used to talking to people, and I got used to talking live on the microphone. It really helped to do a lot of videos so that you can get used to talking to people and getting rid of all those bad mistakes of those kind of things. But regarding your question about the difficulty on starting, that's a really important point for everyone here listening. You know, it was incredibly difficult to do Hugo's Desk. I can tell everyone here on the chat, everyone kind of thinks these things are easy, but it's not. Like making YouTube videos is incredibly difficult. And I had a lot of failures in the beginning. You know, it was terrible. Like in the beginning, I had like some gameplay videos and they bombed completely. I had like 10 views. I then had some tips on Nuke. They also bombed a bit. It didn't really work out well. It took me at least a year to find my language on YouTube, what I was going to show and what I needed to show. And obviously, I'm hoping it's not going to take a year for any of you, because I think when I started 5 years ago, I was one of the first ones doing a solo compositing Nuke YouTube channel. So I didn't have anyone to compare. I didn't really have anyone to follow. You know, I didn't really have anyone that already had that path going. So I had to experiment, and certain things didn't work out. Others worked. I immediately noticed that making long videos didn't really work out because they would give you very little monetization. For a while, I thought that monetization on YouTube was the key thing, but now I given up. I completely given up on YouTube's monetization because it's ridiculous. Like I said on the video, no matter how many videos I put online and no matter how many views I have, I never break the $100 per month mark. And obviously everyone knows that $100 per month does not pay anything, let alone rent or food. So I given up on that, trying to force myself to have a lot of views because it will never happen. I will never have 1 million views because there's not 1 million nuke artists in the world. So that will never happen. What I need to do is to use YouTube. After a year, I found that using YouTube as a marketing tool was the key, to basically develop my brand and develop my other courses and develop my Patreon. Because, I have 27,000 subscribers, but I only have 200 Patreons, so you're talking about like less than 1% or actually supporting my channel, but that's the way it goes, and so at least if you can get a couple of hundred people to support you on Patreon, you're going to be fine. At least you can get a little bit of revenue. But I'm not going to kid anyone here. I am not living from Hugo's Desk, not at all. It just helps with my bills, and it helps a little bit, and it grows slowly, and according to the stats, it will take about 10 years for me to get to 100,000 subscribers, for example. So it's going to take a long time for me to even have that plaque from YouTube that they give to the 100,000 people, because according to the rate of my growth, I have around 800 subscribers per month new. It will probably take 8 to 9, 7.5 years, something like that. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, that definitely helps, I think, for everyone here. Actually, someone is Ciro Cardoso is actually asking, how do you prep your tutorials? Do you find it easier to do live or prep and record?
Oh, that's a really good question, Ciro. So basically, that's one of the reasons why I didn't work in the beginning. In the beginning, I would do them live, like completely. I would basically just do them and hope for the best. But now I've been actually making I'm actually been making like scripts. I write scripts at least as a guideline, and a lot of my videos are actually on a script on a teleprompter. I don't know if you guys don't know what a teleprompter is, but a teleprompter is like a mirror you put in front of the camera, and then you can have an iPad running the text of your script, and the iPad runs the text at the speed of your voice because it's voice activated. So the teleprompter really helped me to make the videos more concise. The videos would be shorter. They would be more methodical. Obviously, when I'm inside of Nuke, I tend to not be on a teleprompter. I tend to do it live, but it's a mixture between a script and doing it live. But I kid you not, like a lot of people don't really realize, and I have a lot of people that are always messaging me complaining that I don't do enough videos, and people need to understand that it takes me days, sometimes weeks to make a video, like because I'm very thorough, like I write this, like for example, the video you guys just saw now, I have 5 scripts for this video, and I've been working on this for 5 or 6 days now, and I only finished it last night. I haven't slept yet. I still haven't even went to bed yet because I was finishing this video, just to see how much you are unsure of what you write and unsure of what you're going to show, and you try something. I filmed a bunch of other parts of this video that I didn't show. So it's a tricky thing. It's difficult. It's not easy. And I don't even understand how some YouTubers can output a video per day. I look at like Linus Tech's website, and he produces 1 video per day, and he has like 1 million views on each video. And I'm like, this guy has to have like 10 editors just working for him. And he probably has. I don't. I do everything myself. I record it, I edit it, I film it, I light it myself, by myself, with no help. My dog doesn't help me, and my cats certainly don't help me. So
yeah, no, I know the feeling. I'll share a little bit of that from my side, because I've been doing videos for the Foundry for the past 7 years or so. And I have 2 methods of working. I do first normally a little bit of a script that gives me an idea. Then I actually sit down and do it live and do a recording live. And then I take that and I start tweaking it around based on that information. Normally, what the live session gives me is those little bits that are a little bit more creative and a little bit kind of more spontaneous on knowledge that suddenly I remember to say and that I had forgotten completely to put on the scripts and so on. So yeah, I think it depends as well on your method of working, but as you says, they are not easy to make always. It normally takes a lot more time than what you're expecting.
Yeah, it does. It does. It takes an enormous amount of time, especially one thing I didn't mention to Ciro's question. I take a long time also because I'm checking stuff all the time, like checking if it's correct. Like, for example, if you're showcasing a node in Nuke or you're showcasing a technique, although I've done it at the mill and I was the head of Nuke there and I'm very senior, I'm always unsure if there's a new technique. I'm always unsure. Maybe there's another way of doing this. Maybe I should go and look at the help file, and maybe I should look at other videos. And then I go into a rabbit hole of like, oh shit, there's actually not this way that they do it anymore. Now I have to experiment. And like going on a rabbit hole of experimenting with that key or whatever you're trying to show. And then by the end of it, there's like, okay, now I have to completely redo my technique that I was going to show because actually Veta started doing it this way or ILM started doing it this way. And then I also like take advantage of all the contacts I have. I email a lot of people that I know in the industry. I contact a lot of people that I know very senior and ask them as well, like, do you think this is still relevant or do you think this is not working? And that works. And so you see, that just adds more days and more days and more days of delays and delays and delays, and you never finish the video. And that's why I have like a backlog of videos that will never end.
All right. I'm going to move to a different question. So I'm doing it in order, people, so bear with us. There is a lot of questions, so I'll try and get them as many as we can.
Yeah,
get
I can see this now. Jesus, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, so
okay.
This one is one that pops up quite a lot in the last few years, and it's kind of for junior artists can they get a job as a compositor, or do they have to start in roto prep or match moving artists and later move to compositing? You go and I'll say.
so who asked this question? Sorry,
sorry.
I can't find it.
That was Manan Gala. Hopefully, I'm not butchering your name. I'm sorry, people.
Okay.
I'm terrible.
No problem. I'm terrible as well, so I'm not going to try. So that's a really good question. So things have changed a bit. Like when I was starting on the industry, yes, it was true. You would start your career as a roto artist. You would start as a prep. You would start as a paint artist, because most of the companies would have those kind of big departments of roto prep. Give an example. At the mill, when I first came into the mill, as a senior, we had a roto department. It existed. It was made of juniors and runners and a bunch of people that wanted to go up onto the Nuke department. But eventually we closed that department because we were outsourcing every single piece of roto to India at some point. And I think most of the visual effects companies do that anyway. So these days it's shifted a bit because not every company actually has a complete roto department. So companies these days are expecting, if you're applying for a company, you are expected to be a compositor, okay? This means you need to know roto. Like if you're applying for film, you need to know roto really well, you need to know keying really well, you need to know paint and cleanup, and you also need to know compositing, general compositing. No one is expecting you to know everything, but you need to know as much as possible, because you're going to jump in and you're probably going to do prep shots, you're probably going to do some simple comps, you're probably going to support other artists in the department. So they're expecting you to have a broad knowledge. And that's kind of a shift for the industry. Although I will say this, because I have a lot of people constantly asking me, oh, I don't need to know roto then. That is not true at all. You still need to know roto and paint and cleanup, because one of the things people don't realize is that even the seniors, even the mid-level artists do roto and paint. You can ask anyone on this chat. In fact, we have a compositing supervisor here. Ricardo Ferreira is on the chat. I just saw him here, and he still does roto and key and paint, and he's a compositing supervisor. Everyone still does that. We all do it, and so we need to know how to do it. Otherwise, we'll never be able to finish the shots, because sometimes it's not possible for us to ship it to another country. Sometimes there's no budget, sometimes there's no time. So sometimes the only way is for you to put some music and do it yourself. There's no other way, okay?
Yeah, and I think is, I think, as you said, but one of the most important bits, I think, it doesn't matter that the jobs for Roto and Prep are not in the companies. It is still the basics, and if you don't know it and you don't know it well, that's the way to really become a compositor. Without it, it's very difficult. Cool.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'm gonna move to the next one. This one comes from Taron Burma. The main secret thing behind CG blending, is it that to shoot in a high res like 8K and do post production there, or work and then convert to 2K, or which one is any other secret to get good CG blending? That's quite an open question, but I don't know if you want to give a quick.
So that's a good question, because people don't realize that, especially when you work on a very high-end company, people don't really use the resolutions, the high resolutions that everyone thinks they use. Like people might think, oh, of course, DNEG just comps everything at 12K or 16K. No, they don't. Like they actually probably comp at less resolution than other companies, because they have an efficient pipeline to try to deliver the projects in time and try to render them all in time. So effectively, the whole thing about this is that normally what happens is that you shoot at a certain resolution, and most films in the world, or the majority of them, shot on an Alexa camera. So most of the films would have been shot at 3K maximum, sometimes at 4K, because most Alexas don't do 8K or 6K. They don't do that, except if you're using an Alexa 65. Of course, some people use RAD cameras, and of course, obviously, they could shoot in 8K if they want to, or 6K. But the reality of it is a lot of films that are out there were shot in 3K, which means that there is no point whatsoever of you upscaling anything. If you are shooting in 3K, then you should aim for your CG to be the same resolution as the plate, so that it matches the sensor, so that it matches the lens, so it matches the film emulsion, it matches the ISO, it matches everything, so nothing is scaled up or scaled down in terms of resolution. Because if you have too much resolution, then you're going to have flicker, you're going to have the moe effect. If you have too little resolution, then you have too much blur. Now, one thing I would say is that normally, for example, in my company, and even at the mill, we would match CG with the plate. So if we shot 3K, we would do the plate, we do the CG in 3K. If we shot, if we shot 2K, we would do the CG in 2K. Obviously, a lot of times, because of time constraints, especially because the mill does commercials, we would sometimes reduce the resolution to something a bit more manageable. And that actually would help with the integration, because it would help with the softness and it would help with the blurriness to actually integrate the plate. Because normally, especially when you're working with the very famous DOP, a director of photography, they tend to use very soft lenses because they like the look, the film look of certain lenses, especially vintage lenses and old lenses. So a lot of times, actually downscaling things would help you to try to match the softness of those lenses. Hope that made sense.
Yeah, that makes quite a bit of sense. So I was trying to find another question in a second, but I think I'll jump into this one. So obviously, Jonathan Yobert is asking, on what you're saying in video, what about newbies who are still on pretty step and long new learning curve? And sorry, this just for some reason, I cannot see the rest of the question. Something just happened on my chat, so I'm going to move to another one. Sorry about that. I'll come back to you, Jonathan, but that something is happening on my refresh. So Frank Opadi is asking, there is a lot of creative material which an artist can showcase and get attention. I would like to know how and what are the ways a programmer in VFX can look for alternative income and get attention. I can answer that from one side. I think there is a lot of stuff from the programmers. I've been working with programmers for quite a while now, obviously at Foundry. I think there's a few things. One, there is not enough TDs and consulting programmers for the VFX industry. So I think Hugo has its own people as well for Hugo's desk and his team. A lot of companies have people helping us outsource. Guys, making small tools for pipeline is always a great way. As Jen said and I said, we are hiring at Foundry engineers as well. So just in case, have a look at that. But normally it's creating small tools, put them on Wikipedia, put them on different places. There is a lot of things like that, GitHubs, and share them around. There is a lack of really good developers in the VFX industry. By that I mean there is great developers in the VFX industry, but there is not enough of them. We need to bring more people into the industry. So you won't be short. There is a lot of ways of getting around. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Hugo.
No, I think you're completely right. There is a huge lack. I find it almost impossible to find developers to create pipelines and tools. So I think you definitely are in a good opportunity there, because you can develop both for the VFX industry, you can also develop for the web industry, you can develop for other creative industries as well. You don't need to focus just on the VFX industry. And I think at this stage, that's the message of my presentation. At this stage, none of us should be picky, like at all. Like we are facing like a really like extension level problem right now, because like I said on the video, a lot of the productions have paused and a lot of productions have been canceled or rescheduled. So everyone that is working home right now, they might run out of work because there's nothing to do, so there will be a problem if we spend at least 6 months stopped. Because then nothing will be filmed. So either the VFX industry switches to full CG, which could be, but then also we have the problem of mocap, would have to be all hand animated. So there will be a lot of building and a lot of making pipelines at this stage. There will be a lot of learning, a lot of developing skills. So it's not only about making income, like I said on the video, but I think companies also will have to kind of make new pipelines so they can work remotely, so that they can do those things. So there's actually, I think there's an opportunity for people that know coding and that know that kind of either Python or C++ or any type of coding. There's actually an opportunity for you to actually be quite busy right now because of the lack of pipeline. Certain companies do not have a remote pipeline, so yeah.
Cool. All right. Where was I? Yeah. So the next one. So as the technology growing in the industry and Nuke taking it every step to make it easier and easier to produce the output, does that make our industry in the long run paying less for the work we get to us? What's your take on it?
Sorry, I think I misunderstood the question. You mean like that now we're getting less paid? Is that what you mean?
No, Ram is asking, because the softwares are getting better, if artists are getting paid less because it is more efficient. I would say no, not necessarily. I think the fact that the tools are easier to access is getting more people into the industry, and the problem is actually the democratization of software makes more people, but it also means that the most talented people are the ones that are highlighted. So it's more about the talent of the people more than the software, and that's a very important distinction that happens in the industry. That's my take. But
I have something controversial to say right now. So, and I'm going to say that, and I hope no one get upset about this. But I've been in this industry for 20 years. And as much as I think that we are very talented and we are worth our weight and we should be well paid, I think the industry suffers from overpayment. And I think that we get too well paid. I'm just saying that because compared to other industries and other people, I know of people that are earning like ridiculous amounts of money, and I don't think that they deserve that amount of money. And I think the industry actually loses quite a lot by having that, because then the productions have to be more expensive. The companies can't hire as many people. I wish, and this is a recurring thing that I keep saying on a lot of talks and a lot of Twitch streams, I wish there was some kind of rate card that we can at least have a guideline on, because it is a bit weird how some people are taking advantage of this and then other people are getting squashed out of the industry because they're getting paid so little. Okay, so I think there should be a rate card for sure, and I've had a lot of problems in the past by saying this. I don't care anymore. I really don't. Like, I'm too old to care anymore. So, and I think that would solve the problems of those kind of levels. And I think that, and that's also why the visual effects industry is working in such tight deadlines and budgets as well. It's not, obviously, it's not just the cost of the artist, but also other costs as well. I still don't understand why a lot of companies have to have an office in London Zone 1. I don't get it. I don't understand why. I don't know why they're paying that premium of rent. It makes no sense anymore. And that cost is going directly into the productions because someone has to pay for the rent. And I feel like, if anything, this moment in the world where we're all locked at our houses, maybe finally we can start working from home and maybe work from the locations that we really wanted to live in, which means we could lower the costs of everything, mostly costs of housing, electricity, studios. Instead, for me, like personally, when I look at these big VFX studios that have an office in Oxford Street in London, I know not everyone here is from London, but the people in London know what I mean. I feel like they should not have that office and maybe have 20 small offices scattered through the world, you know, so that they can gather this talent, this pool of talent from everywhere in the world, so they can have like a small office in near Stockholm. They can have a small office near Berlin. They could have a small office near Texas. They could have these offices that are all linked together, working remotely, and everyone is working together as one single company. They would lower the costs of the buildings. They would lower the costs of rent. And, man, don't start with the security. There's no security issue, okay? I'm so fucking tired of this conversation. There's no security issue. You guys know how many times we're told by a client, oh, there's a security issue. And then they send me the script with like an email, you know, or they sent me the script without a password on Dropbox. This security thing is a misconception. It's the topic of my next video, by the way. So I'm just tired of this. If you put security measures in it, it will be more secure than a company. Like if you do that, you know, if you have your files on data centers that are more secure than a military institution, nothing will happen to those files. But anyway, as I said, I do think that the price is going up and the budgets are being squeezed, and we have the problem of sustainability at this stage. And I think it could be solved by remote. It could be solved by having rate cards. It could be solved by a better balance of life as well, because we have a lot of people that leave the industry because of this, because they can't stand it anymore. Yeah. And I wish they could stay because they were talented artists that could have helped a lot of other people. And so we have this loop of just people quitting and quitting and quitting every 10 years. And it should end now, you know. And I'm going to continue saying this forever until I die, because I'm just fed up of that, you know. So because I'm not going to be scared of not being hired or not hired. I don't need to be hired. I have my own company. So I am already hired. So I can say this. And I just wish that other people in the industry in senior positions would do the same and start talking about this serious thing. Yeah. And obviously I don't want to hijack this conversation to this topic, but so I apologize to Foundry about that. But I feel like this is the most relevant problem we have right now. So, but I'm going to shut up about it now.
No, I agree. And actually, I'm just going to say one more thing related to that, and is saying that I've been traveling for the last 7 years all around the world, from the smallest company to the biggest companies, working with Foundry. It's been amazing. But one of the things that I have seen is the change of how the companies are caring a lot more about the artists and the hours, the stuff. There is really good companies at the moment that are actually making sure that everyone does the right amount of hours. Doesn't matter if the next day's deadline almost is, you just do your amount of hours and that's it. And I think it's a shift in mentality a lot from senior people that have felt that horrible times that we had a few years back and kind of tried to progress that. But on that, I'm going to move on. So actually, there is an interesting one here. Do you recommend? So this is Matt Stagna. Do you recommend starting your own company, register a business to start a Patreon page?
Yes, I would. I would always recommend, like, especially, I don't know if you're in Britain, but I always think that it's much better to have a company. In Britain, of course, we have limited companies than being self-employed. Why? Because you can put a lot of more tax benefits. You can put all your equipment there. You can also pay less tax because it's corporate tax instead of regular tax. And I do know that, of course, you need an accountant and you need to pay the accountant, but the advantages of having a company are extraordinary. And I still to this day, like slam myself for spending like several years on my beginning of my career as a self-employed instead of a company. And now I have never looked back. And I think even people that are freelancing, they should open a company because they can still invoice as a company to all these other studios. And of course, you can still be employed and have a company. You can keep both. It's not a problem at all of having multiple companies even. I would really recommend it from a tax point of view is much better. And also especially the equipment. And then also you can do all sorts of things. I don't know if anyone is aware here, but in most European countries, including Britain, because we're still an European country, thank God, we can actually do something called the R&D claim, which is something you can put up to the taxes about talking about how you've developed the pipeline, or if you've developed something that is unique, or if you've developed something that no one else is developing, or you're developing a new methodology for your work, you can actually get support from the government by doing that, and it only works if you're a company. So there's a lot of advantages, but this is a big topic, and if you guys want to know more, just where to find me. Like, you can just ping me.
Cool. All right, so
Juan, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt for one quick sec. Hugo, can you just repeat really quickly for the chat? We've captured quite a few, but just who are some of the people that you had featured in your video and tutorials? The Houdini 101 and Andrew from DNEG, as well as Ludo from DNEG. You just say it really quickly for the chat. That would be awesome.
Yes, of course. So I'm going to share my screen, okay? If you don't mind, because then it's easier to me to just like scrub the video. Can you see my screen at the moment?
Yep.
Yeah, you see it?
We can see your screen, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to just scrub through the video here so I don't forget anyone. So I can put links. If someone wants the actual links, they can just contact me on social media. But the first one would be Tim. So it's Tim Van, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. So Tim is amazing. He's doing a lot of Houdini tutorials right now, and he has a Patreon, which is like that name says, Patreon of Tim Van, and also his YouTube channel is also the same exact name. At the moment, he has 4,000 subscribers, which is really bad. You should really help him out on this and give him a lot more subscribers because he deserves it. And he's already started doing his course. By the way, his Houdini course is free, and which means you can not pay for it, but I wish that you would pay for it. So I think it would be nice if you could be a Patreon so you can support this kind of venture, because he is putting it for free on YouTube. But obviously, if you want the files or anything like that, or even feedback, you need to pay for it. So Tim is the first one that I showed on the video. The other one I showed was before and afters. So this is Ian Fawkes. He has a really good book on visual effects called, where's the book? Masters of FX, and he has this website called Before and Afters. He does a lot of making off and behind the scenes. He also has a Patreon, and I think it's very underappreciated at the moment. I think he should get a lot more Patreons as well, because he's doing an amazing job as an independent journalist, okay, for visual effects. He's completely independent. You should also support Ben. Ben Comp newsletter comes out every 2 weeks, and it basically showcases interviews, showcases like a bunch of gizmos, a bunch of techniques. Ben is doing Preaching the Lord here, and you should definitely support him on Patreon as well, even if it's just $1, anything can help. Ludo just started actually on Twitch and on YouTube. I've been talking a lot with him lately, and yeah, he's amazing. He's, of course, the head of CG at DNEG. You should definitely subscribe to his YouTube channel and also follow his Twitch streams. He just did one yesterday. He's publishing the Twitch streams in here. The cool thing about this is that you can submit the matte painting, and then you can get feedback from him direct on Twitch. He also has a really good Discord channel. The Discord channel, so yeah, he has a Patreon as well, of course. The Patreon is called Ludo's VFX Coaching. And the Discord channel is called Keep Calm, I'm in VFX. He also has a Facebook page as well. This Discord channel, by the way, has 2,000 people. So it is really good to catch up with a lot of seniors and a lot of mid-level people on this Discord as well. And then I think that's the last thing I showed, I think. Yeah, no, Andrew, of course. Andrew is basically, he had, what I put on the screen here was his profile, but he is doing Twitch streams pretty much I think twice a week or something like that. You should definitely go, if you have Amazon Prime, you should subscribe to his streams. He's doing modeling live on Maya, so he's basically doing Kit Bash at the moment, and he does a lot of high-tech modeling. Obviously, he's not going to model these productions because he can't share these assets online, but he makes his own modeling. And actually, you can see that on the Twitch stream here. That's one of the models he was doing on live. So he's an amazing modeler artist, and he's a really nice guy, so you should support him as well. And yeah, and then if you want to check out more, you should just go to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel has like a best websites. You can go there and check. I only have a couple of them there. I mean, there's so many, obviously you should also need to be careful. There's a lot of bad ones as well, but there's other ones here that I would say check out Love VFX. I would check out VFX for filmmakers, Alexander Richer as well. I would check out Robert here, a CG Rockstar as well, Blender Guru, Alan McKay, of course, Compositing Mentor, M3DS Academy, which is doing Twitch streams as well. Paul is doing amazing work on YouTube as well. If you want to check out some vegetarian foods, my wife has this channel called Garlic Greens and Companies as well. The rest here is not visual effects related. So these are just my other things that I like. So never mind that. So I hope that helped. And how do I leave my disable screen? Yeah, there you go.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, Josh, that's right. I forgot about Josh. Sorry, Kimberly. Yeah. Josh Sparks. I forgot about him. Sorry, Josh.
Oh, yeah. Cool. So the next one is an interesting one, and I think is an interesting topic. So Hugo, this comes from Ram M. What is your thought that the Unreal Engine will reduce the manpower to make the CG process automated under the pre-production level itself?
Well, you mean I still don't believe that real-time engines are really gonna reduce anything, because you guys all need to understand that as much as real-time engines get to a point that look amazing, then the offline renders look even better. So, because we're always chasing our tails, because like right now, it's all about 4K, and now real-time can do 4K, but we're gonna start doing 8K in CG, and then what is real-time gonna do? They can't do 8K yet, so it's always gonna be chasing themselves. So offline rendering will always happen. I do think there will be a combination of both for sure. Especially as you see Redshift rising so much, and you see Octane rising so much in production, I definitely think there will be a combination, also even a mix of both. And sometimes you might have a shot in real time, a shot in offline. You might have a combination depending on what the type of shot you're doing. But I don't believe that it will ever reduce the time of things, because whenever we have more time, we just take more time to do it because we want to make it better. So that means that whenever we get extra time, we just spend that extra time making it even better. So it's I think that's like a false economy that is going to make it really fast. It's not. No.
Yeah. I think it's just a great other tool to have in the pipeline.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's going to remove all the offline rendering as well.
No.
So, and I think it will just shift some of the work from the end to the beginning, but the work is still there. So it's not completely like suddenly we have a magic reduction of time and so on.
No, of course not.
Cool. So the next one I was going to ask you, sorry. Actually, I like this one. Hey, I know you. So this is obviously aimed at you. I know you like to comp for games. Is there a big request for game compers, or is it a small part of the market?
Yeah, it's a small part of the market. I mean, I composite in game trailers because I chose to. Most game companies don't really comp. They do a lot of things in real time. They do a lot of things on the engines. I tend to go to Nuke because I prefer to have complete control. I'm a control freak, and I don't really like to have just everything rendered out and can't tweak anything. I don't like that at all, because I'm very much a very artistic compositor. So I like to experiment. I like to try things. I like to to try a lot of things. So a lot of times I have to kind of like go through this process of my clients and really make sure that they can output stuff from their engine. So I've worked a lot with Ubisoft, for example, and so we've developed pipelines where we can output offline renders from Snowdrop or from their engines, so that I can actually comp with AOVs the offline, like the renders of their engines. And it really produces really good results, because then you can tweak the depth of field, you can tweak the motion blur, you can put grain, put flares, put light traps, you can put other things that are not as easy to control in video games. So I don't believe that there is like a huge request of people to comp in games, for sure. There isn't, and especially if you go to a game studio, there won't be not a lot of people working in Nuke at all. They will mostly use After Effects, but the reason I use Nuke is because I come from the visual effects industry, and I mean, I'm kind of in the middle, I do VFX and games, and I'm just put one leg in one side and one leg on the other. So and Nuke is my choice software. Like guys, you need to understand, I've been using Nuke for 15 years. so I use Nuke like Photoshop, I use it for everything. The other day I was, this is so stupid. People know this from Twitch, because I was doing it on Twitch. The other day I was trying to make a mock-up for a t-shirt I wanted to sell on my channel, like a t-shirt with like Hugo's Desk's logo. And Photoshop was driving me fucking nuts. I was like, oh my God, Photoshop is horrible. And so I gave up, I opened Nuke, and I did the entire comp of the t-shirt in Nuke, like of the t-shirt, of the mock-up of the t-shirt inside of Nuke. It was just easier. So yeah, people are remembering that on the chat. So I'm like, I use Nuke for pretty much everything, because I know that software with my eyes closed. I know it by heart, and it has everything I need from a point of view of professionalism, because it's 42-bit float. It has EXR support. It has no limitations. It's almost unlimitless. So I tend to do Photoshop work on it. I do pre-comps on it. I do final comps on it. I do edits on Nuke Studio. I do use the software in a lot of very alternative methods, for sure, so yeah.
All right. So the next one, I'm actually going to do it probably more myself, because I know about it. So this one is Foundry working on AI-based rotor workflow solution. So we have been working on that for a long time, and not just us. A lot of people have tried to do machine learning or AI roto. The thing that we have learned the most is that roto is very difficult, and that's why we still have people doing it. This is not a joke. You can ask literally, and I mean by that it's super complicated to get machine learning or auto roto tools. It's a problem that the whole industry have tackled in many ways, and we are still looking at it. We don't have anything that's going to go out soon, so no. But we are definitely looking into it, as well as a lot of other developers and people. So yeah, we are working on that. Cool. What next? So the next one is
just for housekeeping. Yeah. We are over time, but it seems like it's still popular, so we can go for probably another 10 minutes, if that's all right. I'm just going to warn everybody, since I'm working from home, you might hear my daughter.
I'm very happy to.
We can go to the 10 minutes.
I'm very happy to stay longer if you want, Jan. It's not a problem at all for me. I've cleared my schedule. I have nothing else to do. No one has anything to do.
All right. So,
well, actually, I'm lying. Look here. I have this to do. This just arrived on the mail just today, so I have this to do. So this is still wrapped in plastic. And why is it wrapped in plastic? Because of the Foundry. Otherwise, it wouldn't be wrapped in plastic right now. I would be playing it right now. Yes. Because it came out today. It came out today.
You'll get to it soon, I promise. So actually, this one comes from Simon KVX. How are your thoughts about full cloud studio or workstations?
Yeah, so I actually have. That's a really good question. And again, I'm gonna sneak in my channel again. That's my next video on YouTube. So check out my YouTube channel, because my next video is about remote workflow. I'm making 2 videos. One video about remote workflow in general, and the other one about the equipment. I am very much a person that has all the files on the cloud, but I use, as you can see from the image, I use physical workstations because I cannot stand the lag of remoting another machine. No matter how good the system is, and no matter how, if I have fiber or not, it's not a possibility for me, because you guys need to understand that I finish shots, okay? So I'm doing grading, I'm doing editorial, I'm doing comp. So I need to not only have my desktop on my screen, but I also need to have a SDI video out in 10-bit to a reference monitor. And at this time, at this stage, it's not really possible to run that in a conventional way. You would have to have potentially leased lines to actually be able to pull that off, to actually have a desktop output and also an SDI out to another computer. I know the mill has done that because the mill has private lines, so they've managed to do sharing of SDI out between even different mills of LA and London, but I can't afford that. So that's why I don't use remote workflows. I just have all the files on the cloud so that they can be easily accessed by everyone. I currently use Dropbox Business, and I hope no one laughs about this, but I currently have 135 terabytes on Dropbox, just so everyone kind of understands the amount of data that I have in Dropbox Business at the moment. So I have my entire pipeline in Dropbox Business with, of course, encryption. It's not unencrypted. So I prefer that way, because then if I bring in a freelancer, they can just download the files they need and then they can start working. But I have everyone in my team has their own workstations. They have their own fast workstations, extra computers, and really good monitors as well. I just prefer it this way. Not to say that I will change. I mean, I was quite happy the way that Elada was coming through on the Foundry. It was actually very less lag, and it was working. Sorry, I keep saying Elada. It's not called Elada. Etera. I keep saying the wrong name. Sorry. So they had sorted out most of the lag. It was quite good at the moment, but unfortunately, it's not being developed anymore. But I still have not seen a way of remoting a machine that is lag free, especially for someone that is senior, because I'm so fast on my computer, so fast with Nuke, with the Wacom tablet and my shortcuts. I don't think the stream can keep up with the speed of a really good artist. You know, that's kind of my take on it. Obviously, if you have a leased line, if you have a private line, you probably can achieve much better results than me. You know, obviously.
I'm gonna just kind of say that I have seen the two full setups. So is it fully local or fully cloud? And the mix of two, and I think that's kind of what Hugo is talking about, that mix.
Yeah.
I think there is benefits in both sides, on fully cloud and kind of mix prems. It goes more to the type of work that you're doing that will allow you to do that type of stuff. So, for example, simulations in Houdini and so on are really heavy, so you don't want to have that moving that data around, so you want to make sure that that is done in a single place, either on the cloud or down in prem. So it depends on I would say it also depends on the sections of the pipeline that you are on. You'll decide what is actually best for you. Cool.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go for this other one that I skipped without wanting by mistake. What is your view on VFX outsourcing for small production companies? What are the considerations for building a sustainable outsource pipeline for small production companies and boutique studios? That is come from Ibrahim Said.
Okay. Thank you so much for the question, Ibrahim. I think that is actually a really good question. You definitely should not just hire the outsource company. You should develop a relationship to a point that you can even share tools and pipelines. That's what we did when I was still at the mill. Like, we started using a lot Trace VFX to do outsourcing in India and Mumbai, and slowly we developed a way that they could share. They could have parts of our pipeline as well. Also, we would go there and train them as well. We would call them and we would develop methodologies around that. And I think that is the only way to do it. The only way is for you to actually deal with the outsourcing company like if they were part of your team. I really believe that's the way to go. And because you should kind of like embrace it in a way so that their problems is also your problems. You know, you can't just like put the hot potato on their side and like, oh yeah, well, good luck, and I'm gonna go to the pub. Can't really be that way. You have to kind of like develop a relationship so that you can help them and also help them achieve the quality you need. So I definitely think for small studios, this is terrific. There's definitely a huge advantage, and that's why small studios tend to look really big sometimes, because they can achieve so many big shots because they outsource so much. It's all about like smart pipelines. It's really not about size, you know. So yeah.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna go with the next one, and I think this could be a bit of a conversation between us as well.
Okay.
Please. Do you have any thoughts on potential impacts of COVID-19 aftermath on the relationship between production and VFX for TV, film, and commercials? So working on set, more VFX sets, extensions, versus practical set and extensions.
Yeah. So yeah. Sorry, you say.
I think this situation, for as strange and difficult it is for everyone, I think there is a lot of good things that will come out of this for the VFX industry and the film industry in general. One is, again, the working from home that we've been talking about. I think the fact that the companies discovered people can work from abroad, it means that we can have smaller facilities and they'll be easier to kind of develop the industry in different areas and not just centralized in London, in LA, in Vancouver, and so on. We're going to be able to stretch a bit more. And that will be not only for us, I think it will be as well for the production side. So I think there'll be kind of good things coming out of this, definitely related to the film industry. I don't know, Hugo, what do you think?
Yeah, so I definitely think it will have a huge impact. Yes, I'm pretty sure. I hope, you know, I'm usually I'm a bit pessimist, but I'm not going to do that today. But I hope we all solve this and we get a vaccine, or we solve this quickly and we don't spend 2 or 3 years like this. Because if we do, there are projections that could be 2 or 3 years. If we do spend 2 or 3 years, you'll see a monumental shift to full CG, and because there's nothing else we can do. Like, there's no other way. Like, that is literally the problem that you'll face. And you'll probably have a lot of 2D animation. You'll have a lot of 3D animation done by hand because you can't do mocap. That might happen. But let's suppose that in 6 months there's a vaccine and we all go to normal. I definitely think this is going to change things forever. And I'm really happy for that, because for the past 5 years, as I said many times, I've been working remotely, and I've done over 30 productions remotely. And every time I do a bloody festival at FMX or at VFX Festival or whatever I am, I always get harassed by people coming up to me saying, oh, why you keep preaching this remote thing? It's impossible to work remotely. Oh, it's impossible to work from home. I keep getting preached about this, to a point that sometimes even got people really high up on the industry coming up to me saying that I shouldn't sell this bullshit to everyone because it doesn't work. So I got really upset about that, because I think now we've all realized that it's absolutely possible. It's absolutely possible to do it. Everyone is doing it now. And it was so easy. It actually only took 2 weeks. Look, it only took 2 weeks for the IT departments to make it. So it was all actually a bullshit on the other side of things. Although I know that some companies are still working in location. Don't know why, and I hope they stop doing it. But for some reason, some companies are still doing it. But I think this will change the industry forever, because, you see, it's all about money, right? And what they're going to discover is that they're going to look at the numbers and they're going to think, damn, everyone still did their work, and we didn't need that building. We didn't need to pay the electricity. We didn't need to pay all those things. We can actually make this much cheaper. And also the artists are happier because they can have dinner with their partners, and they can pat their cats, and they can go out with their dogs, and they can do other things like see their kids. Look at that. They can see their kids. Look at that. That's so good. So I think that the industry will never be back to normal, ever. Because not only the companies will realize it's cheaper this way, everyone else, the artists, will realize that this is actually better than they thought. And I already have people like that. People contacting me saying, Hugo, you were right. This is so much better. And obviously, I also have other people saying they cannot wait to go back to the office. But here's the change. They say this. They say, I can't go back. Can't wait to go back to the office. I want to see my friends. I want to go to the pub. But I'm going to ask them if I can stay home twice a week. You know, it's going to start like that. We're going to have like this hybrid moment where people maybe can be 3 days a week at the office and maybe 2 days a week at their home studios. Maybe they can be half of the time, because people will start understanding that meetings are really pointless and they can have less meetings by not being at the office. And they're going to start realizing that when they're at home, they actually are much more productive. I think this will change things forever. And I hope so. I really hope I'm not wrong here. Because if we go back to normal, I'm going to quit. I'll quit. And I'll just do something else. And that's it.
I think definitely there is a lot of changes with this. And I think the industry will come back stronger. As Hugh said, obviously, I think production will suffer a bit more, obviously, because of the not being able to be in the same place. But other than that, I think there'll be good things happening after this, especially for the BFX companies.
Yeah, I agree with you, Juan. I think there is so many potential positives, not just in VFX, you know, in every aspect of filmmaking for sure. And I think this is actually a restart that we actually needed. I'm not saying that we should have had this, of course not, but it's actually came in the perfect time. And we're not even discussing the most important thing of all of this, because remember, before we went to this pandemic, we were having a gigantic climate change crisis. You know, everything was going tits up with the climate change, and now everything is kind of recovering slowly because we're not using cars, we're not flying airplanes. Believe it or not, and everyone didn't really realize that the airplanes were making the problem. So now people are starting realizing, and I think from a sustainability point of view and an ecological point of view, working from home is the best thing that could ever happen to the planet. And obviously we know that a lot of people can't work from home. I understand that. But also now we're realizing that a lot of people can work from home, like especially white collar jobs, especially office jobs, especially visual effects, design, editing, all these things. It's almost like I feel like people should now start looking at new houses, and they should always think, okay, I need a bedroom for the kid and I need a study because I'm going to have to put my grade suite there. So that's almost like, and I'm almost like thinking, why are people surprised by this? Look at the music industry. People have been having home studios for decades. Musicians have been having these fancy studios on their spare bedrooms for decades. And why didn't we do the same? They've figured it out, you know. So I think this is amazing. I of course it's not amazing. Everyone's suffering, obviously not. And you know, it's horrible what's happening to a lot of families, and my condolences to anyone that has lost anyone through this process, or have lost their job or lost a loved one. But I do think that this is going to be a huge shift to the industry, and it's going to be better. It is. I really think it's going to be better.
Cool. So I think we replied to a bunch of questions. I've been reading the questions, and I think on that conversation we replied to a few of them, related all mostly to kind of the working from home and how the industry will change a little bit. There is a few questions from different people asking a little bit the same that I'm going to go and ask now. Some people's asking future of BFX and compositing in India. Thoughts on the current scene in India. I can answer a bit of that. I have a big connection with India, but I don't know if you want to say anything before that, Hugo.
No, you go first.
Cool. So actually, I was lucky enough about 7, 8, 9 years ago to go and train a lot of people in India at the beginning when the Roto and Prep was moving to India. And it was great to be there and help and train people on it. What has been amazing is to see the change and see the artists that have come out of that. For the last 10 years, see how the industry has grown in India, how the artists have grown in India, and the quality of the work that has gone in there. So I think there is great talent. I think the industry is growing in many ways. And I'm going to say something terrible. At the beginning, there was some companies that weren't great, especially to people. And I saw some really not great situations there, which now in the last few times or everything it has gone so much better and in a much better place. So I think there is a bright future there. There is a lot as well. There is a lot of internal work. It's not only the work that is coming from outsourced, from outside. So that's my point of view on it. There is a lot of stuff happening in India already. I don't know if you, Hugo, want to add anything to that.
No, I don't. I completely agree with you. It's huge. It's a huge shift completely from like 10 years ago when I went to India. I went to Mumbai 8 years ago, I believe. And it's a huge shift in quality and production and the output as well. It's amazing. And I can't wait to see what continues to happen over there. It's one of the places where I'm really looking up and seeing what's happening there.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Juan, maybe one more question before we wrap up.
One more question before we wrap up. Should we?
I did promise. I promised the chat that I was gonna wear my Doom helmet at the end, so I'm gonna do that. So before we lock off, I have to put my Doom helmet.
All right. So,
do you know that, speaking of Doom, by the way, one of our favorite nuke artists based in LA, his father did the original cover art for Doom.
Oh my God.
The artist was Don Punchatz in Texas. Yeah, and
That
Greg
is amazing.
Punchatz, who's a nuke studio master, I don't know if he's on the call, he was the son, and he worked on the game and did a lot of the original models and armatures and stuff. So there's a little connection to Nuke and Doom that you bet you didn't know about.
That's pretty cool. Well, I'm gonna put the helmet at the end and say goodbye with it. I'll do that. I promise.
I also just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone for staying on so long. We still have 210 people on the webinar. I think, Juan, we definitely need to invite Hugo back on stage in the next couple of months.
we can do a few of these ones as we go.
Yes.
As you guys know, obviously Jen and the marketing team have worked really, really hard in the last few weeks to get all these plans for you guys to have the sessions, the webinars, and the skill ups. So we'll continue doing a lot of this. So hopefully we can do another one with you.
Yeah. And thank you so much for. I already said that on the video offline, but thank you so much for inviting me. I love this, and I really love to do live streams, and it was really, really good. The questions were amazing. People were really cool here. I really thought it was great, and I'm gonna shoehorn a little bit here. I hope you don't mind, but if people want to continue these discussions, I am on Twitch every Sunday. So every Sunday at 4:00 in the afternoon, I'm like during this pandemic, I've decided to be on Twitch every Sunday at 4:00 so we review portfolios. I go through some nuke techniques. We talk about careers, and also I've opened up the replay. So even if you're not a subscriber, you can still watch the replay of my Twitch streams. So join my Twitch stream. It's on the link on the chat there. It's Hugo's Desk on Twitch. So I do it every Sunday so we can continue this discussion, you know.
Sounds awesome. And I did want to point out, so Hugo mentioned Ben McEwen. We do have Ben McEwen coming up in our Foundry virtual events. He's doing a webinar on, oh my goodness, Thursday, April 23rd. He's doing a session on how to improve your nuke workflow with Python scripting. Ben has created a Python course. I think it sells for $49. Apparently it's pretty awesome. My colleague David Nolan's taking it right now. And we also have Courtney Price, who used to work at Foundry and has done lots of freelance around London, and he's going to do a nuke skill up on Tuesday, April 28th on how to become a senior compositor. So please do join us for those sessions as well. Juan, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that is it. I think that I would love to answer all your questions. Sorry, we are running. Well, we went over time and we still couldn't answer all of them, but I think we answered most of them. So thank you very much, everyone. And we now have a Doom Hugo. So
but here's the thing, like I'm gonna put this up, but because I put this up, I won't hear anyone because I need to take my headphones. So I'm going to say goodbye now, and because I won't hear anyone, I will just wave because I can't bloody see with this thing. I should use it on the pandemic when I go to the supermarket.
Yeah.
Be careful, you can't see anything. You don't know what you're gonna end up with. Thank you very much, everyone. Please stay safe. Stay creative, and please stay connected. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and we look forward to the next time we connect.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a